So a few years ago, we had I live in Hurricane Alley. If you're new to the channel, you might not know that, but we get hurricanes pretty frequently here. And a few years ago, we had a pretty decent one. I think it was Matthew. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but there was like it was a category 2, and then at the last second, I think it amped up to a category 3. Most of the neighborhood had evacuated, which does tend to happen when you live in a coastal city like I do. That's we're prone to flooding and all kinds of other problems that hurricanes bring in. And so wife and I decided, Mrs. Sarge and I decided that we were going to stay back. And we were one of the only families in the neighborhood that did stay back. There was really only a few of us that were left. And a lot of people wonder about how would I sustain lighting, right? And power, really power too, in a grid down scenario. Now that could be like a power outage due to a natural disaster, such as I'm talking about, or it could be due to something, like a cyber attack, or it could be, the community sometimes talks about EMPs and things like that and CMEs. Personally, the latter two, I don't think are as realistic. Not that it couldn't happen. Certainly it could. I'm not trying to downplay the possibility of it, but I think a cyber attack is more likely, and disasters are definitely going to continue to happen. So when this happened for us, we were able to basically keep lighting going and other things such as radio and stay on top of news alerts and things like that in our neighborhood. And I'm going to tell you how you can do that today with just a few little things that you can pick up, a few little pieces of kit. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need, and I'll drop it in the links down below to make it really easy for people. But we were able to keep our house well lit up for that storm in the duration of the aftermath until the grid was restored. And so much so that the other few people in the neighborhood were like, "You guys have power? It looks like you guys are lit up like it's a city here." And the reason why you might want to do that, right? There's times when you might want to be stealthy if everybody else has power and you don't. You might want to be stealthy about that sometimes, but sometimes it pays to also, to broadcast that you've got power. And in the situation that I'm talking about, that was definitely the case, because what happens in the aftermath of hurricanes is looting goes up. It's advertised all over the news that get out of town, you must evac, and all these other things. And so people evacuate. And then a lot of the times the people who don't stay back, there's some of those are people who are opportunistic criminals, and they're going to drive around neighborhoods and they're looking for abandoned houses. They know there's a pretty good chance the security systems are disabled, or the cameras are, have run out of battery, or however your system works at your place. And it's very opportunistic. So some of us stay back. I'm not telling anybody what to do. Obviously, you have to do what makes sense for your own family's safety. But our neighborhood isn't too prone to flooding compared to some of the other ones in our area. And we have some elderly people, and there's other reasons why a person may choose to not evacuate. I'm not going to get into that specifically. I'm going to get into the kit though. So how did we do this? How did we make our house look well lit? And it's advantageous. It's advantageous. Sorry. It's advantageous to do that in an example like I gave, because they're looking for houses in that situation. They're looking for houses that nobody's home and the power is off. Right. So in this situation that I'm talking about, definitely makes sense to say, hey, there's people here, don't try it, basically. And it also helps the other houses around us too, because we were keeping an eye on other people's properties, some of our friends and neighbors who did skip town, right? So how did we do this? Well, it's actually really easy. And I know those of you who go like the MP crowd and stuff, you're going to be like, yeah, well, it's not what Sarge is showing you isn't going to help you with an EMP. Actually, there's a very simple solution to that. And all you need to do is either build yourself a Faraday cage, and there's tons of videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to do that. Or if you don't have the time or to do that, or you're not handy, you can just go ahead and get that equipment from, I'll put a link for that below, to a company like Mission Darkness. I'll put links for all this stuff. Everything I talk about today, I'll put links down below to make it easy for you. So if you do that, you're pretty well protected. And there's certain things that as a prepper, you might want to think about having some of those things protected by a Faraday cage. And it's going to make you basically like a superpower in your neighborhood if you're the only one that's done this, right? We'll get into this in another video, but there's like between 5 and 10 things that if you protected and you had a way to power them up when nobody else does, you're going to have a huge advantage over everybody else in the area. Again, we'll save that one for another video. So let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see that. Let's talk specifically about lighting, right? So the way that we do this for Mrs. Sarge and I is we recommend that you get yourself some of these rechargeable battery packs, right? And I'm gonna, again, links down below, rechargeable battery packs. And what this does is this allows you to basically plug in and charge up batteries, and you can get as many rechargeable batteries as you want to store. I recommend, if get yourself like some of these containers, I'll put links to that down below. Get as many as you think you're going to need. Get yourself, tons of the AAAs and the AA rechargeable batteries, because a lot of the stuff that you need is going to run off of those. The AAA and AA. I'm talking about your flashlights, your radios, things like that. A lot of that stuff can be run on those. So, and if you do that, you're still going to be at a big advantage over, and even some walkie-talkies and things like that. You're going to be in a big advantage over a lot of other people in your neighborhood. And you might even be in a position where, if you prepared enough, you can help some other families by saying, "Hey, we've got tons of rechargeable batteries. Here, take this, take a flashlight, take a couple flashlights, bring them home when the power's back on. Just return everything to us, right?" And maybe you create a conversation there that leads to a new prepper. Good idea, right? And then this one here, this is called a Nebo light. Whoops, it's called a Nebo Poppy. And I know the green screen's throwing it off a little bit, but basically why we like these here, and we've got several of these run off of, hang on, sorry. This video is not getting edited. These run off of the AAAs, right? So you can get yourself the rechargeable AAAs. And these are really cool because it's a lantern. You just basically pop it out, and it's a 300 lumen lantern, which is definitely enough to light up most small rooms or medium-sized rooms. And if you turn it this way, it's a spotlight, 120 lumen spotlight, right? So we have numerous flashlights and lighting options in our household, but this is one. We've got several of these. These are called Nebo Poppies, and I'll put links for these down below as long as I can find them on Amazon. And then basically what we did was we staged those at multiple points around the house. And yeah, it basically looked like we had power when nobody else did. And believe me, when the grid is down in your neighborhood, if you've got a little bit of lighting or a little bit of sound from like radio or something like that, you definitely stand out. Everybody's going to notice it. So again, there's going to be times when maybe you need to be a little bit more stealthy, but in the scenario that we're talking about today, it actually paid off to like let people know, hey, there's people here. We will stand our ground and defend ourselves. Pick another neighborhood, right? That's the idea with this. But even if you were trying to go stealthy, there's still reasons to like want to have flashlights and other things like that, and radios and comms and things like that when the power goes down. So now, again, protecting this stuff with EMP Faraday bags or Faraday cage or Faraday box or something like that. If you're worried about those things, then yeah, you need to take that next step with that too. And again, if you don't want to buy it, you can certainly build it. There's great builds out there in the YouTube community. I think Rogue Preparedness did one a couple of years ago, so you could probably look that one up. I'm not sure who else has them out there, but if you just search for build Faraday cage, it's going to come up, I promise you. So then how do we sustain this, right? Because I know that's probably the next question is like, okay, that's great, Sarge, but what happens when, those batteries are all, decharged, right? Well, you can actually sustain this for an extremely long period of time with a very simple kit of like a solar power station. Sometimes they call them solar generators. I think solar power station is probably a more accurate term, but let's not split the atom here. Solar power station, and I'll go ahead and link those down below as well. The one that my family uses, unfortunately, this company I think has gone out of business. I know they were having some trouble sourcing some parts. So I'm going to link another company that I do like down below and check that out. So you would need the solar power station or solar generator, if you want to call it that, and then a couple portable solar panels, right? And so what you're going to do, as long as you've got sunlight, you set that thing out, you hook up the solar panels. It's super easy, folks. It's like, I'm not really like technologically inclined. I'm not a handy person. If I can do it, you can do it. It's super easy. Set up these solar panels, your power station, you charge that up. And then this guy here, you're just going to plug it in off of that and charge off of that. Some of these portable solar panels also have a direct USB link on the back. So if you couldn't afford or you wanted to hold off on the power station itself, because some of these things are kind of pricey, just get the portable solar panel, but get one that has a USB backing. And then you would look for a USB battery charger. This one's not. This one actually has to be plugged in. Okay. So, but those are your options. And if you do this, you basically can sustain your lighting, your comms, your radio for an extremely long period of time, right? As long as you're getting some sunlight, this is going to be sustainable. Would eventually these things start to deteriorate? Yeah, but I mean, if we get to that point, we got bigger problems, folks, like the situation behind me here. So I hope this was helpful for you. I try to make it as easy as possible. Again, I don't have the time, nor am I technologically inclined, nor am I handy to put together some of this stuff. Like for me, it's easier to rather than build a solar panel. Which, by the way, some people do that. I think Reed, um, uh, he's changed the channel name. I'm sorry. He showed you some different things like that. So yeah, if you have access to some of that stuff, you can do that. You can build your own Faraday cage. That's actually not that complicated. Or if you don't have time, you can just go ahead and get the stuff that's already put together for you. It just really depends on your family's needs. All right. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments down below what your family does when you're thinking about grid down, power outages, how to prepare, and if there's any particular thing that you found particularly helpful in your blackout kit. All right. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.